One of the most common ways to utilize mat work or stationing work is in the kitchen, or I should say, outside of the kitchen. It's a very handy tool to teach your dog to lay outside of the kitchen so that you can prep food. It can help prevent counter surfing and give the general idea to the dog that the kitchen is no place for them while you're present in the kitchen. Now that you've done the duration portion and you've started doing some distractions, it's a little bit different in the kitchen because kitchen represents food and the kitchen has lots of sounds, lots of triggers. Food wrappers, doors opening, knife sounds. So lots of triggers. So it's very important to work through all of these triggers one at a time. The secret to building a good mat stay when we're prepping our food is to practice without food. Practice opening doors, reinforcing in between, practice cutting things, pulling out wrappers, opening cupboards that are triggers, maybe the cookie cupboard for the dog. Practice all these with a very high rate of reinforcement. When you're starting this training, it's important that you make a sound, do an action, and then walk over and reinforce your dog for staying on the mat. So lots of gold stars. At this point in Louis' training, I'm able to do a lot of activity in the kitchen with food before I actually reinforce him. But I am still reinforcing him for being a good boy and not coming into the kitchen when I'm prepping. There's a few things to remember before you start doing this training. First and foremost, your dog must never get reinforced when he's in the kitchen. That means nothing is thrown on the floor for him to eat. Nothing is fed to him in the kitchen at all. If you want to give your dog something from the kitchen, maybe some leftover veggies, then take it outside of the kitchen, throw it in his bowl, or have him sit outside of the kitchen, but never ever reinforce in the kitchen. You want your dog to know that only good things happen outside of the kitchen and never in the kitchen. Often a dog will see an opportunity when you turn your back, when you open the fridge, when you go out of sight, or when you leave the space where he believes the food is located. So be very mindful. It's not just sounds of the doors and the cutting board and the wrappers. It's actual placement where you are in the kitchen that may trigger the dog. He may see an opportunity to get up. In that case, Turning your back will be part of your training criteria. You'll turn part way, turn back, reinforce. Turn part way, turn back, reinforce. Everything is about adding criteria very slowly. Training tips. When you start this training in the kitchen, do so when you're not actually trying to cook a meal. Get proactive and be ready by adding time to your meal prep and have a bowl of treats or kibble for reinforcement. Use a high rate of reinforcement, meaning lots of gold stars for staying in place. Notice the triggers that may bring your dog out of place, off the mat. If your dog gets up, quietly guide them back into position on the mat in the relaxed down and consider giving your dog more gold stars for less duration. Remember, food is a big trigger for some dogs. Tell them that being on the mat is the best place to be.